Yeah, the O'Keefe fellow who can't hit, as opposed to the your highest owned batter coming in. It's always fun.
Certainly is. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I guess I should deal with that now. Oh, Jordan, I couldn't see you. Yeah, now we're good. I don't know how many times you did that.
More than one.
And we are live. Welcome to a special Live Before Lock 1 p.m. edition on Labor Day. I am Josh Engelman. I am joined by Eric Lindquist. We are here to break down a seven game main slate brought to you by Caesars. We're going to have some fun. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. Sign up for the NFL Sims, which I hope are linked in the description of this video, but who knows? Eric, what's going on?
Not much. Early morning, getting some betting stuff up, firing up Lindy's Locks update over on the X, the old Twitter. Finally hit 10,000 followers. So I'm feeling, extra bougie this morning. It was about time. You've been at 10,000 followers since the day you signed up for this site. So it's nice to join the party here, getting some stuff done over there. Thanks to everybody for checking out the content.
Oh, man. How was your weekend? Labor Day plans? Anything interesting?
So
I did nothing and didn't really realize that it was Labor Day.
I had 15 dudes over to the house, to the new house for a fantasy football draft. Been in the same for 5 years. Oh, yeah. You were going to like bukkake that one or something. Is that what you were getting at?
I was going to make is that how you got that banner behind you?
Oh, I just had to let it rip. So we had a great time. Got the fantasy football draft going.
Nice.
Good stuff. Jordan Klein, we're good. Lag is on their end. Is that you, Jordan Klein? All right, grow up, Peter Pan, Count Chocula. Yeah, it was good. How was your weekend other than, just chilling?
Pretty uneventful, honestly. Good yesterday. Liverpool played really well in the morning, so that was pretty fun to watch. Yeah.
Our two teams going at it.
That set me on the right path. I got a lot of NFL work done yesterday and Saturday. I would guess that I've spent 20 hours over the past 2.5 days building out everything for NFL. Very, very, very happy with where I'm at. So I assume I get destroyed. I've put in more work for NFL right now than I ever have prior to any season start for any sport.
Yeah, well, I mean, you crushed MLB this year. I think that you're riding some of that momentum. Had a great UFC hit also earlier in this season. I think you're in a good spot for the NFL coming in. I haven't had any of the massive hits. I've had a couple of good Rainmakers plays. I'm looking at Rainmakers NFL pretty in depth right now, deciding how I want to handle that. But I think I'm just excited for the hype leading up to it here. We've got the Sims tool, which is like live for everybody now. You can go in and build some lineups and crunch those out with 40,000 Sims. And I think this is kind of like for anybody in the DFS space where it's like your main event. Week 1, there's just bigger prize pools than you've had for any sport at any point this entire year in anything. It's going to be epic.
Yeah, that's the way that I'm looking at it. Like, I obviously have made everybody now. Like NFL is not a sport that I like to follow or find
I
entertaining.
never noticed that.
With all of the new sim technology out there, I am very, very excited to try to chase down some of that aggressive NFL money that's out there, because all it takes is 1 week and all of a sudden you've had like a fun NFL season. So what I'm hoping to do is use the NFL to get lucky, dip my toe into the water, steal a prize pool up at some point in time, and get buckled up for the NBA in October. That's the plan.
Buy a percentage from LeBron on Liverpool. Just find your way into 0.01% somehow, some way.
I mean, when Powerball or Mega Millions or whatever was recently over $1 billion, I mean, that's the type of thing where I would just be like, look, what can I do? Can I like pay somebody's wages to make them be on Liverpool? Like, I'll do whatever I can. I'm buying season tickets. I'm going to every game. Like that's what I want. Otherwise, I don't really care. I wouldn't want to do much else.
Get De Bruyne over there somehow, some way. Just he'd fit perfect with Liverpool. He'd fit perfect with a lot of teams.
Well, yeah, him being really good helps, but I can't be bringing in other teams' garbage. I need you gotta be coming from a different country or from a
developmental.
Yeah, from a team that isn't City, United, Arsenal, Chelsea. I don't want your retreads. I want to start from scratch.
Gotcha.
Now I'll bring in like Mbappe with my $1 billion or something if I can, but best laid plans. You want to talk some baseball?
Sure. I'd rather talk soccer.
I mean, so would I. But for today, let's get into it.
Let's go.
I don't know what I put down on the sheet. We're going to start pitchers. That's evidently what I picked. We're going to start on the pitching side. I'm going to tee it up like this. There are 3 pitchers that are getting a lot of ownership. One is Merrill Kelly at 9,300, which I don't think that we're all that surprised by. They're taking on the Rockies, and it's not in Colorado. 2, Jose Barrios. He is taking on Oakland in Oakland. That generally makes people look like they're better pitchers than they are. And then Cole Reagan, 7,200. He's also north of 40% owned on this slate. When you see those 3 big, let's say giant ownership numbers, because the next closest guy to Barrios at 35 is Justin Steele at 17. We've got a chasm between those 3. Do all 3 of those guys make sense to you?
Yes, I would say the Barrios one is a little surprising to me. I know that it's going to Oakland. I know Oakland's completely terrible against everybody at this point in time. There's no shock to the fact that they have one of the highest strikeout rates against right-handed pitching, sitting at 24.5%, but they're a little bit behind that of Colorado. And that's where I just kind of see Merrill Kelly straight up being a way better play. It's only $500 more. Looking at my lineups, I don't need crazy amounts of salary to be able to make everything work today. We only have one pitcher who's 10K, and he's got the wind blowing out in Wrigley behind him in Justin Steele. So I think all of that ownership that would have been him is kind of funneling towards Kelly Barrios. And I just find that to be a drastic difference between the way I'm projecting out Merrill Kelly against Colorado with that K rate, with that lineup, as opposed to Jose Barrios. But I understand it. Our top 2 percentage that we have on Merrill Kelly is the highest of anybody at 32.6%. Barrios sitting there at 20%. Completely makes sense to me. That chasm is the reason that I'm still getting to Kelly a little bit more. Basically, Barrios is the guy that I'm shorting, but I think you're the one who's shorting somebody extremely in this range, and I'll let you kind of talk about the reasons why, because Cole Reagan's, I think, is a great play, but so does the field, and he could end up being insanely popular today.
Yeah, I just it's one of those things where I don't really know what to do with him. 7,200 is clearly a price tag that doesn't line up with reality. Like, I've got him projected better than Logan Webb. Logan Webb's 9,500.
Yeah.
So that is happening, but he is 49% owned. Now, I did make some adjustments to how long I thought he was going to go in this game. I'm going to have more when I rerun this. Similarly, I assume I have more now that Ken Waldichuk doesn't appear to be the guy for Oakland. That looks like it's going to be Luis Medina. But I do feel like Cole Reagan's at least a little bit overowned. And I think a lot of it comes down to how much are you a believer in his performance in the majors this season, because all of the main projection systems that rely on past data, past minors data, all of it do not see him with the same stuff that all of the current markets are showing, because this season he's got a 25% K rate to lefties and a 31% K rate to righties. Hasn't really been touched up at all by righties. A little bit of power to lefties, but nothing that you're worried about. But he's only thrown 1,000 pitches. That's a relevant number to me. I find this spot really tricky. So I project him, I use Steamer's rates. I've got him at a 24% K rate. That brings him in quite a bit lower than where he's been in the majors. That said, strikeout rates do stabilize a little bit faster than most stats. So I'm guessing I'm probably a little light on Ragans, and that's what's causing it. And I'm not all that worried about the White Sox bats on the opposite side. The park certainly helps. It limits power to righties and lefties. But just given that amount of ownership, I'm expecting to have like a little bit more Brian Bayo instead, probably a little bit more Andrew Heaney instead. Maybe I get too much of Peter Lambert or Jesse Schultens instead. I don't begrudge anybody going to Ragans. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the one of the two pitchers that you're using in a cash game. I feel like I'm not going to have all that much in large field.
Yeah, I talked about this last night on my video and then again today on the Locks update over on X and you know how much you have to believe what we've seen compared to what Zip, Steamer, everybody was projecting. And you have to remember there's always going to be one or two outliers per season going up against some of these projection sites. I mean, the projection sites help us gauge pitchers 98% of the time and give us some pretty decent certainty on guys that aren't going to this is just outperforming every metric. As you said before, 22.1% K percentage is what you're looking at from Zips. He's outperforming that by over 7%, nearly 7.5%. That's a drastic outlier. He's got a 3 FIP in the majors this season. That is an outlier when you're looking at 3.88, 4.18 at Steamer. The Bats got it right around 4.30. Again, this is insane stuff that we're seeing, but you look at the changeup specifically, and this is where I think he's absolutely lethal. You get up against right-handed bats, and you have no Luis Robert there. And then the right-handed bats, he's got under a 100. He's got a .082 x ISO against righties with a 31.2% K rate. For whatever reason, they have this trash Zach Remillard guy coming up and batting second with a 235, 211, 256 expected slash line. That is just egregious kind of stuff. And the fact that he's batting second for no reason, you get by Eloy Jimenez, you get by Andrew Vaughn, he should be smooth sailing that back half of the lineup with Colas, Trace Thompson, who strikes out at, nearly one of the highest K rates. He's up there in Gallo territory now, and Corey Lee. There are a ton of strikeouts available. It's a piece of chalk that I'm probably with you where he's going to end up a little bit over-owned relative to his chances of success, but he's kind of where you're starting any cash game with. He is it's a bad price. He's going to be crazy popular, and I think he should be.
Yeah. Current strikeout prop, at least on FanDuel Sportsbook, is set at 6.5. Under is -148. So we're probably saying he's good for 5.8, 5.9, 6, something in that neighborhood strikeouts. Mm-hmm. If the line were at 5.5, it would be juiced pretty significantly to the over. So I think we're going to be in and around 6. I got him at 5.4, and that's using that 24% K rate via Steamer. Maybe that should be a tick higher a little bit, but I think I'm only off by like a half strikeout. And that is sort of making this a little bit more extreme than I want it to be. I just clicked refresh. I don't believe that this workbook is refreshing the way that I would like it to, but I did in fact click refresh to try and get my updated crunch done. That does not seem like it's happening. So yay us.
Goody.
So you're getting to Ragans in bulk.
Yeah.
Are you getting to Kelly and Barrios in bulk?
No, I'm getting to Kelly. Barrios is kind of the guy who ends up getting I'm not going to say fade because it's Oakland. Any opportunity. We don't have that entire lineup yet here. I think that lineup will be coming out a little bit later. 1:07 Pacific time start time, 4:07. That'll probably be one of the last lineups we get as we get to the end of this show. There's a lot of iterations of it where you get Tony Kemp leading off. I don't love that 9.2% K rate, but that's kind of what they've done against some of these righties here of late. It shows up every third day, but Jose Barrios with just a 22.2% K rate. And then Merrill Kelly, we're just seeing a lot of improvements to his overall pitches as this season's progressed. He's one of my guys. He's got a 25.6% K rate. It just has more to do with Ragans in that spot and price point. And then Merrill Kelly with significantly better strikeout stuff in a better matchup for strikeouts in what I'm projecting for Colorado. Just falling into line with those two. And it feels like Barrios is the guy who's getting the heavy cut for me.
Well, I reran based on all those changes that I made. I did not really get to more Cole Reagan, so there's that.
Good
That
luck.
could easily change by 145. Like if I start looking at different props or something as the show goes on, maybe I make another change. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that makes a change.
Mm-hmm.
We shall see.
That'll be fun.
Are you paying all the way up to what is not a really high tier? Only Justin Steele gets a 5-digit price tag. Aaron Savali is 9,700. He is second. These guys are basically like 15% owned. Do you like the top end today?
I'm trying to talk myself into jamming Justin Steele here, and I can't quite do it. He's got the second highest top 2 percentage for everybody on this slate. And when you get positive leverage for a guy like Justin Steele, who I think is kind of a dark horse Cy Young candidate, 23.6% K rate, 291 xWOBA, feels like a great spot to be playing up against the San Francisco team that, yeah, they're going to go out and platoon and do all the things that you're kind of accustomed to try to reduce strikeout rate, but they can't really do it with these righties in this lineup. A 25.5% K rate is third highest in baseball against southpaws. They do carry just an 89 WRC plus, but of course the major X factor is the park. It is 90 degrees in Chicago for an afternoon baseball game at Wrigley with a 10-mile-per-hour wind blowing out slightly out to left field here, gusts up to 15. It is a freaky boom bust type spot. I do think that there's a better chance that I get to some Logan Webb in bulk because he at least has that ground ball rate, 61.3%, where I think it can neutralize some of your concerns for that win. But Justin Steele, he's the better pitcher overall and has the better strikeout stuff, or I guess identical strikeout stuff, but he's in the better matchup considering what San Francisco can be against southpaws. But he's just peppering fastballs there. And if they get up in the air, we've seen it time and time again where Wrigley can just play so small in these type of situations. Wild to see a 9 total with these two pitchers on the mound, but that should just tell you it's a freaky spot.
By the way, we just got the Rays and Blue Jays lineup. So for the early slate, the only thing we're waiting on now, or not early, the main slate, I guess. The only thing that we're waiting on now are Rockies and Diamondbacks. And I don't think anybody gives a shit what the Rockies lineup is today. So I guess we're waiting on the Diamondbacks. If your hot swaps in 45 minutes need to be Rockies bats, you were probably set up for some struggles. You knew what you were getting yourself into at that point in time.
Yeah. Way to just talk Ryan McMahon and Nolan Jones into career games. That'll hurt.
Well, I doubt I'm playing the Rockies today after jamming them for the past 2 weeks. So I assume they're going to go absolutely insane.
They were fantastic plays against Toronto, though. They were like carrying a fifth of the ownership that entire weekend. And those games shot out 3 consecutive overs on the weekend. And yeah, I was with you. I played a lot of Colorado.
Anybody that you're getting to that the public doesn't appear to be getting to from a pitching perspective, I've got one of those that's pretty big.
Again, I'm trying to decide how I'm going to handle Justin Steele because he looks great. Again, second highest top 2 percentage on this slate. I'm just a little bit freaked out by the wind. The one guy that I just love every single slate is Brian Bayo. You're 7,800 in Tampa Bay against a lineup that will never have Wander Franco ever again, and probably set up in a spot where if Aaron Savali ends up being your guy, it's just a little bit too much money. I'm getting a discount for kind of identical strikeout production. But the thing, Bayo, he has a superpower. It's always going to be that ground ball rate. He carries, a chance of success even with a 44.5% hard hit percentage because he's got right around a 55% ground ball rate for the season and limits barrels to 7.1% rate as well. Yeah, the strikeout stuff isn't crazy by any means, 19.1%, but you look at him next to Savali at 20% for a K rate. Why would I pay $1,900 more for a pitcher that I think is in a pretty similar spot, has a tougher matchup against this Boston lefty side where, Tristan Cassis and Adam Duvall and Trevor Story, those are your 3 guys who are going to strike out a lot. But, with Abreu leading off here, pretty good stuff in AAA at avoiding strikeouts. Only a 23.8% number here. That'd be a little bit above average, but don't think that'll be what it is long-term for him. Devers, 19%. Turner, 16%. So straight up there in that game, Brian Bayo is somebody that I'm getting over the field on.
Yeah, I've got 23% Bayo. So right now I'm 2Xing the field. You want to talk me out of something?
Oh, no. What are we doing?
It's not bad. This guy is overpriced for today, but he is currently 1.2% owned.
Yeah.
Or at least he was the last time.
France. What are we doing?
I have 18%.
Oh, no.
He's really he doesn't get hit hard against lefties. That's Seager, that's Nate Lowe, that's Josh Smith. The other 6 guys are righties. They tuned France up to a 241 X ISO. So, should be fine against the lefties.
So I'm a little bit weirded out by this lineup. I talked also this morning. I was like, can they possibly just go out there and these switch hitters like Heim, like Grossman, can they just hit from the right side? Because it seems like it's a better situation. I'm assuming he's actually going to be facing 5 lefties because I'm assuming they're not going to look stupid out there and just have them hit as righties. But you touched on it, 241 X ISO for right-handed hitting against JP France. That is just problematic. For me, I just don't find the upside at 8.4K because 20.3% K rate against lefties. And then these specific lefties that you're talking about in this lineup, they're good. Corey Seager, pretty good, confirmed good at the baseball, the game of it. Nate Lowe sitting there with just a 22.1% K rate as well. And then Jonah Heim never strikes out, 18.3%, a little bit better from the left side of the plate. So it's a tough spot for me to want to click on his name. I know why it's showing up, 1.2% ownership. That's under-owned relative to his chances of success. But if you're building out 20 lineups, I couldn't imagine he would end up being somebody who would show up for me in any way, shape, or form. But in 150, I understand the leverage. I think I would just be more inclined to go to the other side of that one and just take my shots with Heaney.
I already got Heaney, so there's that.
Cool.
Yeah, look, I'm not surprised by this. I tend to get like 1 or 2 of these guys that are like 1% owned pitchers that just should be like 10%, and I end up getting that chunk of them. And I think that's what's happening here. No part of this looks good, but it's not about trying to think like, oh, how good is JP France? Like, no, my goal is to try to win a DFS contest. And that generally entails having guys that might not necessarily be like the most fun situation in the world. And I think JP France is pretty significantly under-owned if he's 1.5% owned. Doesn't make it fun, but that sort of leverage is just one of those spots that I can take a bite of, and it doesn't necessarily affect the other 80% of what I'm doing.
Los Angeles Dodgers starter Julio Urias was arrested and charged with felony domestic violence charges last night. LAPD says 27 was booked late Sunday and released early this morning. That came out a minute ago.
That's not his first time, is it?
No, I don't think so. He might be done too.
Yeah, he's going to be sharing a cell with Wander.
And then, you got Bauer in the post Dodger era. Yeah, I can't imagine Urias is ever playing another baseball game again.
I can't believe he's 27, man. I feel like that dude is perpetually 18.
He's been there since, I think he was 18 or 19 when he made his Dodgers debut. I think you're right about that.
It just makes me feel old. Well, that's not great for him.
What Josh just said is so critical. I agree. Coming back to that, I just kind of got floored by that news coming across my timeline. But it's so true that like playing Cole Reagans doesn't do anything for you today other than have you hold hands with like 55% of the field. Because at the flip, that's kind of what I'm guessing we run into. Yeah. It's awesome if you can run into a guy like JP France at 1.2% who beats him by 1 fantasy point. Like if you can beat him straight up in that kind of a scenario, awesome. You are holding the key to the slate pretty much. It's so hard. It just makes sense for me with Heaney at 7K because you're talking about a guy who's actually cheaper than Reagans, has a strikeout rate that can kind of match up and be something in this spot against Houston. And I assume we don't get Yordan Alvarez in that lineup today, but we shall see.
You're talking, wait. Why do you assume?
Oh, he isn't in the lineup. No, he was dinged up. He didn't end up in the lineup like 2 days ago or yesterday it was.
Gotcha.
He ended up in the lineup. I just wanted to double check that.
Gotcha.
Do they have Brantley? No, it's Dubois who's batting ninth. That's a disaster too, because that guy never strikes out.
So we're not getting to Medina. We are likely not getting to any real Peter Lambert, Jesse Schultens, TJ Antone, or whatever's coming in after that. So we're starting to really limit this player pool. Any other pitchers that you think we should touch about?
Not really. Brian Wu, it's a pitch count thing. It's a difficult ballpark. I love the strikeout stuff, as does Zips and Steamer. He was somebody that I was kind of curious what your thoughts were on him in this spot because he's 8K. He at least has the strikeout stuff to compete with some of these guys, but coming off of 65 and 69 pitches, it feels like he's going to have the kitty gloves on. I had him for 76 pitches today, just trying to see if I got to any. I got to only 4%.
I have 6%, so we're not all that different. It's so hard in this park. It plays up runs, 128 park factor to righties, 140 to lefties for power over the last 3 years. So for me, it's usually pretty difficult, barring like ridiculous price tags, to get to pitching. So normally I would be happy to get Brian Wu, and I think that he probably is a hair under owned, but you can... Like, it's just such a disaster to be in Cincinnati. What I have of him, somewhere in that 5 to 10% range, fine with me.
Okay. It's just a tough spot there. Ken Waldichuk, we're both off now that there's really no opportunity for him to go beyond like 75 pitches, I would think. He could get the win if he comes in after Medina, but that doesn't really look appealing. And if I clicked on Peter Lambert, it would be a complete accident.
Schedule for the rest of the day, folks. You can hear about it after you hit that like button, but it's kind of easy. There's not a lot going on today because it's Labor Day. It's just baseball. Got a pretty tame day. Underdog NFL show coming up at 4 p.m. But then tomorrow, the shackles come off. This is the first week of the NFL season. We'll have Showdown for Thursday. We'll have the main slate coming up this weekend, but we're going to have plenty of NFL content coming up over the rest of the week. So make sure you're tuning into that. That's what you're looking for, folks. I know it. Even though this is a baseball show, I know you're looking for the NFL love. Want to talk bats?
Let's do it.
Only one place to start today. There is a clear top team, and that is the Seattle Mariners. They are in Cincinnati. They've got some sort of garbage bullpen type game going on for the Reds. The Mariners offense is really talented. They have the highest implied total. This park plays up all things power. No Cal Raleigh is ultra annoying. Just feels like a situation that's really going to piss me off in the end. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do. I am locked and loaded for Seattle. I have no problem getting there, even with them being owned, somehow not the most owned. Whether or not that's true or not, we'll find out once the Cincinnati Reds starter is established. Seems like they should be the most owned. What are you doing with the Mariners?
I'm playing them. They're just locked and loaded. It's difficult looking at this lineup you get pretty cheap bats for a spot in a game environment that makes a ton of sense to be overweight to. You get Julio Rodriguez. He's really the only expensive bat that we have to be reaching for in any way, shape, or form. Then you're avoiding Cal Raleigh, so you don't have an expensive bat to be paying up for there. You have Suarez, your most expensive guy there with Teoscar Hernandez, $4,600 a piece. They're underpriced. Then you get guys on the cheap end. Dominic Canzone batting cleanup. He's my absolute dude, $3,100 as I reran stuff for that lineup. He is my highest owned batter on the entire slate. You look at his AAA numbers into the big leagues. Sure, the PCL absolutely nukes it from when he was with Arizona, batting out of AAA Reno, but doesn't really matter. He's got pretty pronounced splits. He gets to face a righty who's terrible as a beginner. The assumed righty that you brought up there as well looks absolutely abysmal, north of a 6 ERA in AAA this season. So pretty good opportunity to be getting to Seattle bats in the best game not the best game environment, but in terms of ballpark, combined with not having Logan Webb and Justin Steele on the mound, locked and loaded with Mariners.
Oh yeah. I can't get away from this team. I'm rerunning everything once again, but I don't think anything is going to change. That Seattle will be my overwhelming top stack for today. My question then to you is this: who's the best team that isn't the Mariners?
That's the fun one, isn't it? Kansas City really is standing out for me today, going up against Jesse Schultens, a pitcher we didn't bring up for very obvious reasons. My biggest issue with that is that the ownership has gotten a little bit out of control, but they've got the highest overall stack score for us, nearly a 10% top stack percentage. And a lot of those things that we talked about earlier with, Julio Rodriguez here, or that I just talked about, you don't have that with the Kansas City lineup because there is no Bobby Witt in it. So everybody's cheap. They're insanely cheap. 4,100 is the max you're paying for anybody in this lineup. Sure, you lose the upside of a Bobby Witt there, but You then gain an opportunity to play a cheap catcher in Furman there, sitting in the 5 hole with the 282 average, 788 OPS, and 9 homers. So a decent power metric. Schulten's not good in any way, shape, or form. It's just a team that fits easily with anything you want to do from a pitching perspective. And as I'm trying to rerun things and get to more Justin Steele, because he has so much positive leverage coming in there, seems like Kansas City's a team that's coming along for the ride.
A team that I get a lot of normally. Does not appear like today is going to be that day. On my last run, that was sort of, I mean, you and I are going to have very different days, I think. Kansas City was probably my biggest fade of anything that I had earlier.
Interesting.
Yeah, I actually have a giant stand on the White Sox, not Kansas City. So another piece of that is if Cole Reagans isn't Cole Reagans today, I am on the opposite side of that one with the bats looking to end everybody's day. So fingers crossed for that one. The other teams that I'm looking at, clearly the Reds are at least a little bit interesting to me.
Love them. Yep.
In this park, always. The Diamondbacks clearly look fantastic today. I don't really have many other stands from a hitting perspective. The bulk of my day is described as this: play the Mariners, don't play the Royals. That's what my lineups are telling me. Now, do I wish I were playing the Royals? No, sort of. Like, Bobby Witt not being there is very important. The way that I have this graded out today, I have the Royals lineup worse than the A's lineup. And I have it as the second worst lineup that's going today, only behind the Rockies.
Wow. Yeah. Seattle, we're going to be holding hands with that one. They're just jumping up the board like crazy for me too. They're positively leveraged. And again, top stack score by a mile. Hopefully that maintains here. I'm going to be playing everybody 1 through 9 in bulk there. The one spot that I'm probably going to be massively overweight to is going to be going up against JP France. I'm going to be playing a lot of these Texas Rangers as well. You're looking at pretty flat leverage going their direction with some of the cheapies that we have from the pitching perspective, Cole Reagans and these other guys. Feels like a team that's going a little bit slept on, but I really want to be overweight to these righties. I think that that's just a very obvious thing. Adolis Garcia, again, you brought up 240 x ISO against righties. Adolis Garcia, Corey Seager and Nate Loud, no problem with them as guys to be getting to, but Adolis Garcia and Mitch Garver are just way up the board. If we're going to be getting on a 7-game slate, 2 of those guys at less than 10% ownership, which is what it looks like, those are 2 specific bats that if I'm hand building, which I'm not going to be today, I'm just jamming 150 lineups here, but I love getting to those guys too.
I'm basically neutral on Texas, so I have no problems there. Just because I had some JP France doesn't remove me from understanding what situation is in front of me, and that's that JP France isn't very good, and that I should have at least some of Texas. Texas, I think pretty, like, there are some bats in the lineup that really terrify the shit out of me against JP France, so that should be fun. You getting to the Astros at all here against Heaney?
I thought I was going to get to more of them. It doesn't seem like it. You do get Alvarez in that lineup here today. Chas McCormick batting 7th. I was hoping you got him a little bit higher there. They've gone to the Bregman batting cleanup here. There's no, they're rolling out their A team for the most part. Brantley isn't going to be in there against lefties now that he's back as well because of how good McCormick's been. But it's just kind of a team that I'm seem to be pretty flat on. They're expensive with the Altuve, Jordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker section of it. McCormick isn't exactly salary savings either at 4,700 batting 7th. And then it's always annoying when you see like Pena, all right, he's moving up to 2nd and, he's 4,100 and now he's going to be popular in that kind of a play. Whereas if he was batting 7th or 8th, like he normally is, he ends up 2 or 3%. And I like getting to him in my stacks in that capacity. But Houston seemed like I'm pretty flat on them.
Any major fades?
Yeah, a couple of them. The main one right off the bat, I have like very little to zero interest in Toronto going up against Ken Waldichuk and now Luis Medina going to be starting this one. It's just such a bad ballpark relative to what we're looking at for Seattle and Cincinnati. And it just seems like people are just still jamming them and playing them as though they're in a neutral ballpark. I get it. Bullpen, worst in baseball for Oakland. And you have Toronto coming in with, an opportunity to just go completely nuts in an afternoon game in Oakland, not having to play, with any kind of a marine layer coming in. But I think there's better offenses in better spots. And other places I'm looking across the industry right now have tons of ownership on guys like George Springer, Vlad Guerrero. I'm just going to be out on it. Happy to be passing. We don't have that lineup here yet. Brandon Belt was scratched on Sunday, so I'm going to be paying attention to that as well. But seems like everybody has a lot more interest in Toronto than I do.
I don't have them, and that's a team that I normally have quite a bit of. So I'm certainly not mad about that. I'm making my tweaks to my exposures now because I have more Seattle than I really want to. And by taking Seattle back down, it's unlocking way more Chicago White Sox than I want to. But the third team that I'm going to have is the Cincinnati Reds, which I sort of mentioned before. I do want to just throw in these placeholders right now, since for what we have going on the slate, we have 2 lineups left, right?
Yep.
I'm very happy getting these dummy lineups in so that we can continue the conversation that we're working through right now.
I'm going to do the same, actually.
Yeah, it's just, I'll feel a little bit better knowing that everything that I have in for the games that are about to start is already ready.
I just hate how many Athletics I'm now getting to, because I just have no Barrios, and it's just making me play Athletics, and I kind of don't want to do it. There's a lot of ways that Barrios goes 6 innings, 3 Ks, 4 Ks, and I don't have to really even worry about it on this slate, but it's just a disgusting spot.
New exposures.
Oh, I'm ready. I want to hear your pitching exposures first, because I think that's the most interesting thing about this slate.
Well, that's outstanding, because that is what I wanted to tell you about. I now have less Cole Reagans than I had before.
Jesus Christ.
So my entire day is going to come down to whether or not he scores north of 20 fantasy points, we'll say.
Oh, my God. Rip.
I've got 31% of Aaron Savali now.
What?
Yeah.
I
didn't have that before. I don't even think I said his name at the beginning of the show. 11% owned. Decent enough spot here against this Red Sox team, I guess. They're fine. I like the park. Limits runs, limits lefty power. Really, they got 3 lefties in their first 4 hitters. They've got a bunch of lefties across the board. Is this like a sneaky okay spot for Savali at just 11% ownership? What I'm gleaning from this, if I can get to 31% Aaron Savali, is that salary is meaningless.
Yeah, it feels that way. Again, it's not like we're paying up for anybody. 10K, that's your cap here with Justin Steele pitching. And then we have a number of like bats you would normally want to get to who are getting a day off. Bobby Witt in the Kansas City lineup. You still have Matt McClain on the IL from Cincinnati. We're waiting on Arizona. I'm curious, again, Corbin Carroll, maybe he gets a day off. Your Rockies lineup just came in, but try to see if there's anything there that stands out. Nope, their regular lineup, it would appear. Diaz cleanup. Yep, all right. So that's good to know, but not that anybody's going to be playing Colorado today against Merrill Kelly, but I'm pretty convinced that anything that you're doing to get away from Cole Reagans, Merrill Kelly is probably game theory optimal, like probably the right way of doing things on this slate. So I don't hate what you're doing. It just seems as though Cole Reagans is a guy that I'm just kind of assuming is going to smash. Merrill Kelly, it seems as though it's somebody that at 9,300, I'm looking for pivots in that range. But Justin Steele's in such a bad game environment, and then the K rates of these guys around him, like you're basically just playing Aaron Savali, hoping you get a failure out of Reagans in any way, shape, or form, and that from a raw points perspective, the guy gets 7 innings, overperforms his K prop a little bit, and you're bypassing tons of the field.
What do you have our projections in front of you right now?
Yes, I do.
What do we have Cole Reagans projected for?
As soon as you said that, it's not going for me. That's great. Give me 1 second here.
You can get all the seconds in the world. And we're going to get out of here in like 20 minutes. So you've got 1,200 seconds.
Do, 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 do. Mana, do, 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 do. I love the Muppets movie, just for anybody who gives a shit. 17.44.
17.44 for Reagans. What do we have Savali at?
Savali sitting at 14.1.
Okay. Yeah. I basically have those guys flip-flopped.
That's wild to me. I have Reagans at 18.3. and I have Savali.
I think we're underrepresenting Aaron Savali here, by the way.
I have Savali at 15, so 15.014 for what it matters.
4.5 strikeout prop for Savali, -164 to the over. So, we're talking like that should be somewhere like a little bit north of 5. He's basically like a strikeout behind Reagans. But I think more likely to go deeper in this game, I think would be
right.
Like, I'm not saying that like he has to or anything, but I think if you were choosing the guy that was going to go deeper in this game, it would be Aaron Savali. I don't know. I kind of like the 31%. I assume the Red Sox are another team I get to a lot, so I assume that they just end up smashing and ruining my Savali stand. But I don't mind this change.
Abreu so far really against
concerning me is the amount of Reagans I have. But if I'm going to fade Reagans, then I'm happy. Like, I've got the White Sox. I'm doing it the way that I would want to do it on paper. But those situations are never comfortable. They're never fun.
Abreu so far only 21 plate attempts in baseball against righties, but we saw in AAA he massacred, and now a 343 x ISO right off the bat there. Now that's leading up. That's got to be enjoyable there. 285 x ISO for Devers. Tristan Casas 272 x ISO, been one of the best hitters in baseball in the second half of the season. Adam Duvall lofting it, still 16 homers against righties on the season. I mean, this is a freaky spot to be overweight like you are to Savali at like 31%. But again, you want to try to find some contrarian stand here because it sounds like Seattle, no doubt about it, going to be a team that you're playing at the highest clip of an A team. I don't think that's going to go completely under the radar. I don't mind trying to find some kind of form of diversion from the straight and narrow path here, but God, that freaks me out hearing Savali. I only have 6% of him, so best of luck.
Right now, it's 45 of Kelly and Barrios, 31 Savali, 20 Steele, 27 Bayo.
Wow.
Fun morning, I guess. We only need one more lineup. We got plenty of time here. We got 25 minutes. Do you have any other teams you want to touch on yet?
Teams, the Athletics, it's purely because of what I'm doing fading Barrios that I'm getting to some of these guys. They're the second worst team in terms of top stack percentage, but I'm not necessarily looking at stacking them up. I'm looking at finding one-offs that make sense. Zach Geloff, 5,200. Always nice. M. Shinoda, Ryan Noda sitting there hitting first base. Feeling good about just being overweight to those two guys specifically. Seth Brown always shows up for me a little bit more than I'd like. Brent Rooker. There's some actual serviceable hitters at the top of this lineup. And yes, they did go to the iteration with Tony Kemp batting leadoff here for Oakland today. So that just reduces my strikeout my outlook there for Jose Barrios. Not a great strikeout matchup compared to what it would appear the field wants it to be. You get Lawrence Butler there too with some power in the 8-hole at a flat 2K. I'm just overweight to pretty much every single Oakland bat, it would appear, and it's just purely a result of me not having Barrios.
Do you have any Canzone because he's from Cleveland and went to Ohio State? That's an important thing.
He's my highest owned batter, but I can guarantee you I didn't know any of those facts until just now.
Last time I saw Sean V bringing out the location-based arguments, whoever was pitching for the Braves got absolutely rocked.
Hey, here's the thing. Sean V and I have turned over a new leaf because he went at Jesse, rightfully, on Twitter/X.com in such a savage way, and I agreed with his take. And since that moment, I'm trying to think of the right word because I don't want to say that I appreciate Sean V. I don't think that that's the correct word, but I can now see his name in chat and not have a visceral reaction.
Interesting. I wouldn't use the word appreciate either. Although, you know what I do appreciate? I appreciate the deal that we are getting from Caesars Sportsbook right now. Click the link in the description of this video. There is a banner on the top of the screen that's going to explain it as well. If you click that link, sign up at Caesars and bet $50, you're going to get $250 in bonus bets. They're going to give you 50 pretty close to immediately, and then you're going to get another 50 every Monday for the next 4 weeks. This is the best deal that most people will find. The BetMGM deal, if you've got $1,000 sitting around, it's going to bring $1,000 back to you in bonus bets. I actually think it jumped up to $1,500 now, but this is not the read for that one. So my facts aren't as important. It's important for Caesars because 50 isn't a lot to talk about here. And you can turn 50 into 250 almost immediately. You have to use each 50 within 7 days of receiving it. So, make sure you're taking advantage of it when you get the opportunity. The legal age for gambling in most states is 21 or over. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. But before you do any of that, sign up at Caesars using our link. Oy. All right, so we got, 15 minutes or so to chat about whatever we want for the rest of this show. So I don't know if you look at it like this. Any individual bats that are really standing out to you that don't really have anything to do with your stacking, just like who are the guys that you think are up for a good day today?
Yeah, so one of my favorite things to do just manually is kind of going through that process. Guys that, a big part of what I do from a betting perspective is projecting out home runs. And it's always fun to kind of put that together in some kind of a capacity for DFS. Obviously, salary and ownership and those things take precedence, as well as figuring out the 5-man stack, what you kind of want to be doing with those. So those do take priority. But I talked about it earlier with these Texas Rangers righties. You're looking at Marcus Semien, sub 5%. You're looking at Adolis Garcia sitting there with like sub 4%. You're looking at Mitch Garver, who catcher position, you're going out of your way trying to win that. Not having Cal Raleigh for the Seattle stack. I think we'll probably see an influx of ownership going there, but still sub 10% for him. I really like getting overweight to those guys specifically. I think that just kind of gives me a little bit of a different build as I'm putting those guys together as some expensive pay-ups as opposed to just some of those other Seattle pieces. And it's not too hard for me to have Seattle along with some of those guys. Just don't want to have so much cumulative ownership coming in together with them. But special shout out to them. From a positionality perspective, I do think that there's like certain bats. Shortstop is kind of a weird position. Corey Seager, I think, is probably going to be a little bit overowned relative to like what we see for France's splits. Ellie De La Cruz against Wu here. He's been terrible in the second half of the season, just a contrarian spend up. And then JP Crawford, he's probably the guy that I know you, myself, we're probably landing on the most. But I'm trying to find certain spots like that here in the last 20 minutes that we have, 23 minutes before we get to lock. Figure out where there might be a spot that's going a little bit underrepresented. Because I do think Jeremy Pena is going to get steamed up like crazy batting second here today. And you look at his splits, not all that impressive. So I got to say, that's going to be somebody I end up shorting a little bit here too. So I'm kind of going through the motions with that. But Jeremy Pena, just a 367 expected slugging, 36.8% hard hit percentage, doesn't really loft the ball in any capacity. A little bit surprised to see him batting second here today with everybody back. It would make sense to have McCormick higher in that order, but that's where Chas McCormick might go a little bit slept on.
I've got 13% of Pena, but 10% of that is outside of primary stacks. So I like that sort of setup if he's going to be getting any real ownership. That's sort of what I have. 5 guys outside of primary stacks north of 10%. Julio Rodriguez is my most exposed non-stacked guy at 17% ownership. So basically, I'm matching the field on Julio Rodriguez as a one-off, and everything else I'm getting is in stacks. Tim Anderson is second in terms of my one-offs. Jake Fraley is third. Maikel Garcia fourth, and Cavan Biggio is fifth. All of those one-offs either hit leadoff or second. So that's another thing where I know that I'm getting outside of my stacks. I'm filling in my lineups with the best possible hitters with the highest amount of opportunities. Very happy with my construction today.
Yeah, I think you're doing things correctly from the hitting department. Again, are you still at 31%, Aaron Savale? I got to do a wellness check.
Yes, I am.
Best of luck to you. My God, if this thing works out, I mean, what an absolute smash. This is like the Schultens day that we had together where Jesse Schultens
it worked until it didn't.
4 innings. Yeah, I was like, my God, you're going to absolutely wreck everything. And then he ran into like a really big jam, I think, at the beginning of the 5th, and they didn't take him out in time, and it was just bad.
Yeah, I think he struck out the side in the 1st, which was fun.
It was. I was like,
I won't. Right now, I won't rerun anything until we get a Diamondbacks lineup. So everything that I have is what is in.
Yeah, I'm probably with you. I don't want to rerun anything today.
Dwayne Moody said, "Can you guys touch on the Cubs for 30 seconds?" They're my least exposed team, I think.
Yeah. So again, how many times do you have Justin Steele, Logan Webb on the mound? Go ahead.
We got the Diamondbacks lineup.
All right. Anything stick out?
All right, let's see. Carroll, Thomas, Pham,
Thomas
Walker,
batting second?
Yeah,
God damn
Gurriel,
it.
Moreno, Peterson. So no Ketel Marte in the Diamondbacks lineup.
Big
so I
deal.
will rerun for that, obviously. That matters.
Yep. Sure does.
That certainly makes the Diamondbacks look like a worse stack than they were before. That's for sure.
How many 5-mans of Seattle did you get in your 150 on your last run?
47.
So it's gone down a little bit for you.
Manually.
Okay. just I can't.
It didn't want to go down, but it did. It did. So yeah, I mean, that's not bad. The Diamondbacks will look a little bit worse, but otherwise, not by much.
I like the San Francisco side a little bit more going up against Steele, just to go back to his question, mainly because Justin Steele at least gives up some fly balls there. Logan Webb, the ground ball rate just has me a little bit freaked out of wanting to go overweight to them. But it is, again, there's a reason there's a 9 total in this game. You're going to get to the bullpens for a portion of it, and that's where it could really get wonky. You could run into back-to-back-to-back shots. You could run into some fly balls that just carry another 60 feet than they should, or than they normally would. So Justin Steele with the 10.2 degree average launch angle, but only a 20.8% fly ball rate. I mean, it's truly a weird game to try to go out and project. I'm going to go to the Justin Steele side and play a little bit more of him just because of what I think that outlook could be with the strikeout rate for some of these San Francisco Giants. Always fun to see Austin Slater in a 27.5% K rate leading off, but he could also hit a moon ball or two. So it's a freaky spot.
All right. Finally got the update to the lineups in, which means we have every single lineup. Every lineup for the 7 teams or the 7 games that exist, 14 teams in all. All of those lineups have become official. We've had a lot of scratches lately, so I don't like baseball turning into basketball all that much, but I'm ready to run some lineups and figure out where I actually stand. I hope that I keep the Savali. I've wrapped my head around it now. I want the giant White Sox stand. I want Savali. I don't want to see this become a different thing when I ultimately run this stuff, which I'm doing right now. And I'll have an answer in like 3 or 4 minutes. Should be fun.
Should be fun. I will say I want Texas and Houston to shoot out in the worst of ways. That is what my lineups are telling me.
I quite disagree with the Texas side. JP France.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, when you could get to, 15% JP France on the slate, you kind of have to, right?
You could also just like withdraw. You could also just cancel entries.
You could, but then how would I win the monies?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Just double down. 36% JP France.
All right, Sim is running. We'll have answers in 10 minutes.
I'm running my stuff one more time.
Anybody we haven't talked about that you've wanted to talk about?
I feel like we've kind of like truly ran the gamut on it. With the Arizona lineup, I think just kind of touching on a couple of things with that one. It's a team with a 5.3 implied run total, and now they don't have their second best hitter in the lineup. So that sucks. You have Ketel Marte sitting on the sidelines for this one, which isn't ideal. Kansas City's still a team that I'm getting to more than you. It sounds like. I think Maikel Garcia, Sal Perez, just how cheap they are. They're just showing up in a pretty prominent way for me. They're nice lineup filler. I'm trying not to play them exclusively here with like the Cole Reagan shares that I have. I am a little bit low. So he's down around 50% for me now.
Okay.
Just in the stuff I could see. Well, he was at 59% before the show, and now he's started to get trimmed back a little bit. Yanner Diaz, one hitter that I find to be very fascinating. You look at his splits; he has insane reverse splits. He's been incredible against righties over the course of this season. He's now batting 8th here in that lineup for Houston. Has a 552 expected slugging, but I just want to always point this out because it just seems like there's an actual problem going on here that's hard to explain. Against righties this season, he has a 317, 336, 613 slash line, and it's better in AAA. Against lefties, though, like Heaney, who he's going to be facing today, 193, 227, 313. Now, it's only 83 plate appearances, and obviously There's some weird stuff where it's like, hey, if you grew up and you didn't see a lot of lefties, you just don't see the ball very well coming from that side of the plate, and he'll adjust to it over time. But as it stands right now, that's a hitter that in the Houston stacks, I have virtually zero of, even though the expected ISO is higher for him than what we've seen of late. Maybe that's a mistake, but it's just this weird phenomenon going on with him where he just kind of always seems overpriced to me and over-owned every time he faces a lefty.
Yeah, 8% owned right now, 4,300. That's the MPE, which is helpful. Yep. I have 4%, so I have a little bit.
Okay, I have 2%, so wanted to throw that out there.
Okay.
An interesting talking point to fill out the time.
If anybody in chat has any questions, you're allowed to ask them so long as you have hit the like button for this show. And it is not listed as a read for me, but I assume I'm supposed to do it anyway. NFL Sims are out, folks. Everything's changing around these parts. The Sims tool, if you haven't seen the video from Greg, if you haven't gone to the YouTube channel and seen it yet, you need to do that immediately. New NFL Sims tool is straight sick. Generate a giant player pool of up to 10,000 pre-made lineups first, and then run your simulation, set up your stacks, all that kind of good stuff. Guys, you're going to want this. I could not be more confident in what I'm saying. If you have the money to get into the Sims side of this one, you really want to do that right away. Links in the description. Head on over to the site. See everything that's written up. There's a great landing page for everything so you can understand it a little bit better. Watch Greg's video, but come on into the fold, guys. Sign up for the Sims. I assume the link is in the description. Jordan, have you looked? Is it there? Fantastic. Hit that link in chat. Save some money. All right. One more chunk of lineups to be run before I can actually quickly refresh my lineups and find out what we got going on here.
Just a quick 10,000 lineups. We're almost done here.
Just a quick 15,000 done for me.
15,000. Oh, you're so big, Josh.
One for every lineup that's in the contest.
I'm never saying those words in that order again. It came out weird.
No one's ever said it before that either.
Lucky lady.
No, not once in their lives. Never once.
Is it in?
It's not that problem, but
okay.
It's just a lot of substandard technique.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When the NBA starts, do you know if there will be a package for both NBA and NFL? No, there will not. Everything is going to be independent of each other.
All right, I'm done with my stuff. I'm ready.
Any major changes? Anything you want to touch on that's different from what we talked about earlier?
54% Merrill Kelly, now my highest owned pitcher. So that is drastically different. I don't know what happened, but he's now 20% higher. I'm okay with it. I'm going to roll with it. JP Crawford, my highest owned batter. Talked about him at shortstop. Julio Rodriguez and Henio Suarez, Dominic Canzone. Not surprising to see those guys at the top. Corbin Carroll, my highest owned one-off. That is an interesting one. Getting to lots of Kansas City, like I talked about. Justin Steele, up to 26% is where I landed on for him. Basically full fading Jose Barrios. So rip to me for that. Chas McCormick getting to tons of guys like him, where they're just kind of lineup filler for it. Somebody in chat said Alex Bregman. Yeah, he's been much worse against lefties, but you look at his career numbers, he's really good against lefties. I've got no problem still having Alex Bregman. Think it's a little bit of a blip on the radar for him this season. Let's see. Anything else that stands out? Yeah, Moreno, Walker, fan back in this lineup today. Interesting stuff overall. San Francisco side did get to a number of these guys. Patrick Bailey, highest owned percent at 8. Wilmer Flores as well. Aaron Savali, I ended up with 7%. So there you go. Went up 1% for me there. Best of luck to you.
All righty. I am copying mine into my upload sheet right now, and then I'll walk through and figure out everything I've got. The stack, totals haven't really changed. So I'll touch on those in a second.
Jorge, my guy, good to see you again. $10, fade 3 stacks, and pitchers, gents. Yeah, we can throw those out here as Josh goes through his exposures.
Yeah, so I can very easily say my 3 favorite stacks. These are the 3 teams that I am most owned to. Now, I will keep in mind, these are not teams that grade out very well in the top stack tool. The Mariners are my most exposed team. I think they are very clearly the top stack for today. I have no problems having Seattle. I have 47 Seattle stacks. I have 33 White Sox stacks. That's going to fly in the face of a lot of the work that people are doing today. And then I have 25 Red stacks. So those three teams are currently making up close to 2/3 of my stack exposure. The rest of it is kind of a wide net. So those are my top three. When I look at the pitching side, I will obviously have slightly different answers. Remember, Jose Barrios is in 53% of my lineups. That dude is going to get wrecked today. I have no doubt in my mind. Barrios is my most exposed pitcher. Merrill Kelly is 2 at 38%. Aaron Savale is 3 at 30. I've got 25% of Bayo, 23% of Justin Steele, 17% of JP France, and a crisp 2 of Cole Reagans. We're cheering against Cole Reagans today, baby.
Oh my God. Texas, my third highest exposed. I'm way overweight to them. Probably shouldn't be this overweight to them, but I am. Ryan Nelson, 42% of them. Best of luck to you. That is way more than I have. But
this is going to be a day.
This is going to be fun. It's going to be fun. You're doing the Reagans fade. I'm doing the full Barrios fade, and we're on opposite ends with those two. That'll be fun.
I'll tell you this much: if I win today's slate, if Reagans gets bombed by the White Sox, like a couple home runs type stuff, and I don't win this slate, I might not be here for the strategy show tomorrow because I'm going to be one of the few people that are on the White Sox the way that I am. None of these ownership numbers seem even comparable. Tim Anderson is projected for 12. I've got 23. Jesus. Zach Remillard, whatever that is, who looks so very bad. Not good. 3% owned. I have more than that.
Don't even say the number. I'll be disturbed.
18.
Oh my God.
Eloy, 6% owned. I got 26. Andrew Vaughn, 6% owned. I've got 27. If you're looking for a home run today, I can tell you who's going to hit it. I have 4% of Oscar Colas, even with these big stands. I have 3% of Trace Thompson. He is unowned as well. I'll promise you that Trace Thompson home runs today.
My God.
This is what happens to me. I'll have a stack where one guy, someone like Trace Thompson, obviously, tons of power, slips through the cracks in some way, and I don't have as much. Because everybody else I have at least 10% of. Trace Thompson is going to homer to piss me off. It's coming. No, be ready.
He'll strike out twice. Don't worry about it.
Bet that prop if you can get to it.
It's going to be a fun day.
I think we're done.
Yeah, we're done.
I think we had some fun. We zipped through an hour. I hope everybody enjoys their Labor Day. Enjoy what is probably a day off to most of you. I'm going to go watch some baseball and have some fun. What are you up to for the rest of the day?
Yeah, going to cook out a little bit, watch some baseball. Got some stuff to just do around the house. Might go to Home Depot, exciting stuff like that.
Well, I don't have the same plays as Adam today. That's usually good. Normally when we're on the same stuff, we both get rocked. So that's a great start. I'm going to go sit around, watch some baseball, hang out. I'm going to finally eat for today. It's 2:00. Have not had a single morsel of food, so I am quite hungry. Mike Campbell took the Thompson home run prop. You have to, man. Feel good about it. Nolan Jones did it like 2 days ago where I had all of the Rockies and I had like 2% of him and he went out and hit like a 3-run dong. I was like, yep. I was like, yeah, let's go Rockies. I pulled it up. I was like, oh yeah, I don't have you at all. Yeah. Anyway, guys.
So absurd.
Thanks to Caesars. Thanks to Eric. Thanks to Jordan for producing. Thanks to everybody for being here. MLB Strategy Show.